Making a lot. We're going to be using up a lot of iron in this production. So we have our first bloomery, so we can start producing iron bars. Now this will take fuel, so I might wait until I have a few more housing plots and another fire cutter to have fire cut down here. But look, this village is developing, dude. I've got, what, 13 families, 14 families, and I've got 42 total population. It's like little vegetable gardens. I want more vegetable gardens. I really, really enjoy the vegetable garden. I don't know why. It's such a simple little thing, but it adds so much to the game. And I love that you could like rotate the plots to get like different amounts of houses. Like we can get 4 houses here in this plot of land. I don't know where I'm going to get tax from. Genuinely not sure. Oh, I need to have people working the trading post. Ah, there we are. That's why the traders didn't do anything. See, we're learning about this game. We're learning. I'm learning. Oh, we have a ton of firewood. Yeah, I feel pretty safe now to put a family into the bloomery. We've almost completely extracted all these berries, so we are now going to have to start using tools to make farms. So that's going to be our next phase, is get the farms up for next year's harvest, because I don't think we'll be able to sustain ourselves on these berries for much longer. We do have meat coming in, and the vegetable garden is helping. I think food is going to be a big issue that my town's going to have to deal with. Out of curiosity, oh yeah, we can start adding more vegetable gardens. I'm not going to do that because I would rather, well, those extra vegetable gardens would mean that we were covered. Oh, I kind of built over where my fields were meant to go. Whoops. Oops. I guess I'll turn this whole section into a farm field. There we go. We have a nice little farm here. This will be Emmer. We'll do a crop rotation. So it looks like our berry guys have managed to fully extract all of the berries by August. So I'm going to dework this by 1 worker. We probably only need 3, but that does mean we have a huge amount of berries stocked up, and that will help us get through the winter. Right, let's add another farm field here. So we have 2 little farm fields. They're both of reasonable quality. I will want a 3rd farming field, I think. There we go. We have 3 little farms now. I mean, I say little farms, but these are actually massive 9 worker farms. But my goal is to have them on like a constant rotation. So this one goes Emmer, barley, fallow. This one goes barley, fallow, Emmer. So then I need a fallow, Emmer, barley, I think. And that way they'll all kind of like, you know, they'll rotate the crop rotation, right? You want to do crop rotation. Dublin is starting to come together on the map, at least. You can see it there. It's beautiful. I have no idea how to claim territory, but that might be something we look into. Genuinely kind of baffled, but look, they're working the field. Yeah! Get rid of those trees. Make those fields beautiful. So we're getting a little bit low on food. I think we should be able to survive the winter, though. There is a constant supply of wild animals. Let's also make it so that we're buying food. And I think I'm going to start adding more vegetable gardens. We can do chickens! Chickens! Chicken coop, let's do it. Do I have to buy chickens? Oh, he's got chickens! Dude, I need a goat shed. Goated. I need another vegetable garden. Yeah, I'm going to build a few extra chicken coops, because they seem like they'd be quite good. Just a little bit of consistent egg production will increase the variety of the diet of my people too, and that'll be really, really nice. We do finally have some wheat growing though, some emmer on the way, which means we're going to have to start expanding our town and preparing to actually process that into real food. One thing I would like to say, and I know this is a demo, so I'm not going to criticize it too hard, but clicking this millions of times is kind of like boring. I would like it to be like a slider, or if I could type a number in. I do need a traveling trader to come by though. I need to buy some food off of him, so hopefully we see one soon. Because my people are kind of out of food, which is, you know, that's not good. We're a little bit out of food. It's still good. Okay, here comes the trader. This will hopefully save our food situation. We have a lot of stuff to sell. Okay, he didn't actually pass through the way he was supposed to, and now my people are starving. Rip, rest in peace. I don't know how I'm supposed to make my own tax. My personal wealth is negative. I'm going to like pretend that I'm not in debt. I'm fine. Wait, I can upgrade to level 2. Oh no, I think I need to meet all these needs. Okay, well, we're slowly getting in the direction of meeting those needs. Slowly but surely. Honestly, I think the eggs and milk are carrying me here. Like that little bit of egg, the little bit of milk is kind of saving us from starvation. We did also get a livestock trading post so we can start building out some pastures if we want to later. I don't think you could do animal breeding in the demo. That's not a big deal. Yeah, we're having a bit of hunger. We're in January, so it's only another month until the berries open up. If a trader would come by, that would be amazing. I do have the cash to make more chicken coops. Oh, I managed to crash the game. I guess that's the end of my preview, because there's no saving in the demo. So I hope you guys enjoyed Manor Lords. It's cool. It's everything that we expected it to be. And I'm really, really excited to see how the war gameplay develops. I love you all very much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Manor is finally here. After years of waiting, it has been Steam Next Fest, and we have our 5-day demo. It's actually free to play, so you guys can go and check it out. But this is my first impressions of the game. I got my hands on it a little bit early, so I've been able to get in, play for a few hours, and this is what has come out of it. Of course, this is a first impressions, not a full review, not into every single tiny aspect of the game. So, without further ado, Manor is finally here. But is it any good? Launching into the earliest demo, it is somewhat overall bare bones, but you get a good few hours of content out of it. I probably wouldn't expect any more, especially for a free version of the game. I want to caveat a few things though. There are no battles within the game. We've seen some of the trailers of the big Total War style, almost taking the crown of that medieval Total War, of these RTS battles, and they look gorgeous. They're not in this version. This is just a demo to show off the building and the early settlement content. There also isn't too much in terms of diplomacy and interacting with other NPCs or settlements. There are some interactions with the king, as we'll get onto a little bit later, but go into this early free demo looking to test out some of the building mechanics and, well, getting a good idea of how this game is going to look. So far, there are quite a few bugs that I've found, but that's to be expected. Small things like when you're harvesting berries, it will still say that there are some left to harvest, even when it's winter, so there shouldn't be. There are a few spelling errors, so if you click on leveling up your houses, there's a typo here or there, and smaller things, but I didn't come across anything too game breaking. Even more, something that might affect a lot of people is there's currently no saving your game. You have to play all in one shot. You can't start your colony, save, then come back a few hours later. This is only a few days, so you have to do this all at once, and it is kind of annoying that there's no saving, but I think you're able to get through most of the content within 3 or 4 hours, so if that's your thing, it's all there for you. Loading up the main menu is incredible. The music is so immersive and beautiful. It really sets the tone. This medieval manor builder. You really feel like you are taking this role of the Lord looking over this region. It is your chance to build up this dream settlement that you have been planning for years. And the music really sets the scene. We can see in the future that we're going to get separate game modes, but at the moment all we can play is the regular, more sandboxy survival mode. You are nothing but a village builder. There's some more stuff that are more combat orientated or mission orientated, but that's not quite for our eyes just yet. Jumping in, we get to see our first bit of customization. You get custom banners, being able to put your own logo on, and as you'll see, there's a ton of customization later in the game. Yes, you can upload a picture or a logo, put it on your shield, then when combat is eventually added in, you'll see that on your troop shields, on their banners, and it'll look goddamn beautiful. For now, I just went with the simple kind of customizations though that were already implemented within the title. Loading up a map you put within a random location, and this is where we first get to see the beauty of Manor. The details within this are another level. From texture work to lighting, from shadows to the vibrancy of the countryside of this medieval world. A few months ago, Slavic Magic, the developer, mentioned that they have had some funding from Epic Games, which has meant that they've been able to work with Nvidia to put in DLSS as well. So I put that up to the highest quality setting, and it was running at 120 FPS at 4K on the highest of textures, and you can just see what this game has to offer. Things like the paths that you can place down, they form so naturally, they look so welded within the earth. Even though they are just placeable, it seems as though they've been formed over months and months of people walking on the ground. When it rains, puddles start to form and these paths get muddy. Houses have this cool free-form building option, letting you make different sizes or link them together. This means that not every house is going to look exactly the same. You're not going to have these city skylines levels of uniformity. This is a medieval world. This is, at the start, a small village. There's not going to be some incredibly skilled craftsmen and architects like in the big cities. This is just a few builders and carpenters that are getting together to try and start something new. And this is shown in the higgledy-piggledy variation of wonky fences, cool buildings that are slightly different, thatched roofs that aren't quite straight, and it's designed to perfection. But with this freeform building, you can completely customize the size. The bigger the plot, the more options that it gives you for things like adding in gardens, that people can plant their own vegetables within their house plots, chicken coops. It's so awesome that there's so much variation and options to this. Tying all your buildings and resource collection points with paths lets carts, oxen, people move easier between them. And does it ever look amazing? Even if there was no function here, even if paths within Manor Lords were just an aesthetic part, I'd still be putting them literally everywhere. It kind of gives a bit of that Anno look, but I think personally that it looks much nicer because it's a bit more of that macro level. So as you begin, you have your basics: lumber camps, logging lodges, hunting cabins, storage granaries, farms, berry pickers, and so on and so forth. Nothing that we haven't seen before. It gives you some introductory missions to get you going, such as building enough houses, building enough markets so you can sell your stuff. But if I can give you any tips, any advice right now before you get into this, get going on building berry foragers. You're going to need as many as possible, as it will be winter soon, and getting enough food to last the 3 months of winter is really hard, and the game at this point doesn't tell you that. Of course, you can expect that you're going to need to store food for the winter, but my god, is it more than you might think. First time, all my people just starved. Second time, I had 75% of my colonists collecting berries during the summer, and even then, when it got to winter, we just about had enough reserves to spare the last few days, but it was cutting it so close. So yeah, the game has some difficulty options here. There are the options to set up more resources, give yourself easier benefits before you start, but on the standard mode it is really tough, or at least in the way the game is balanced at this point in time. So, once you've built your resource camps, you can then start assigning villagers to work on them. You need loggers, you need firewood starters, you need berry pickers and hunters. You can assign the villagers by clicking on the UI of the building, then hitting the plus button. If there's a villager available, they'll start working there. You can then go into a different tab to see which villagers are working on that trade, and then you can follow them around, and it's a really nice touch, and even rename each villager within that menu. This kind of small customization keeps you coming back. Being able to do things like rename the whole town, or even change the sound of the bell in the church tower, in this such basic bones version of Manor Lords, lets you see how much love and passion was put into this, and makes you feel like you're really running every single aspect of this town. With each resource gathering place, you can set a designated work area if you want them to collect from a certain area, or you can just ignore it and they'll go off and find the resources on their own. I did find, as a warning, with at least the logging camp, sometimes your loggers will get a little bit confused and they won't start working until you designate a tree area for them to work in. That might just be a bug that I found, but do keep an eye out for that. If you really want them to get working fast, make sure you click the select designated work area and find a place for them to start picking berries or chopping down trees, so on and so forth. As you build up your town, my god does it start to look picturesque. Games like Banished, Ostriv and Anno do a really good job of making an immersive historical village, and they really pull you in with their beauty, but I don't think I've ever seen anything that looks quite as good as Manor Lords does. And this was made mostly by one person. What an accomplishment. When December comes though, winter will fall and berries will no longer be harvestable, so make sure you've got enough in stock and at your market stalls. Hunting is an option, but my starting spawns didn't have any areas that people could hunt, and hunters won't travel out of your region even if you ask them to with a designated hunting area, so watch out for that. Speaking of regions, the map is split up into different resource areas that traders can travel between. You can build in your region, and eventually you can buy other regions with enough influence. That hasn't been added in just yet though. You can set up trade posts to buy and sell items if you need more of one thing but not of another. But I didn't delve too much into that since it's still very basic. But back to winter. Seasons make a big difference. Spring is when crops can be sown. Summer, they'll grow and flourish. Fall is when it's time to harvest, and winter is for hunkering down and hoping that you've got enough stored and enough firewood so you guys don't all die. Speaking of colonists, you'll start with a few, but as houses are built, more will come and join, so you've got to watch out and accommodate. At the top, it will tell you that you've got enough firewood and food for a certain amount of time. It might look like you've got 12 months of food at the start, but remember, people are going to continue joining, so that number is going to drop and drop. With more colonists, they will work hard for you, but remember it's still more mouths to feed. Taverns and weaving huts are needed for entertainment and making clothes, along with the other basics. As your town begins to grow, you have to think about your approval rating. It's a percentage that will slide up and down depending on how happy or angry your villagers are. If it hits 0%, they will revolt. I'm not entirely sure if that's been added in yet, but we're yet to find out, since my guys pretty much starve before they have the chance to complain about the lack of food. A little bit ironic. So it all sounds great, right? But this is still an incredibly bare bones free testing phase, made to iron out some of the basics of the building portion of the game. So it's really far from perfect. There are some issues. But as I go into this is not necessarily for you, the average player watching, but because these things I'm sure will be fixed, but mostly for the devs and the team that are behind this. There are, as mentioned, typos in UI are an issue. They're not much of an issue, you can ignore it, but it still exists. Speaking of the UI, in the settings menu, it's very confusing to see some options, whether they're ticked or not. For example, VSync, you have no idea if it's ticked or not until you actually press where you think the box should be, and then a white tick comes up. Without that tick, the box is invisible. That might need to be changed so you can actually see where these tick boxes are. Another thing in the video settings is selecting from low all the way to ultra. You know, when you select if you want high settings or medium settings and so on. The buttons glow slightly brighter when they're selected, but not enough to be very obvious. So I had to really look closely to see, is it on ultra settings or is it actually on medium? And that's just something that could probably be changed to make it more obvious at just the glance of an eye. Into the game though, you have the camera that's able to go right in and zoom all the way out to the region map. However, when you're zoomed all the way in and you want to try and click on a building, it's really hard. A lot of the time you'll select a colonist if they're nearby, as the mouse seems to like to lock to them instead of the building. I had so many moments where I was trying to look at the UI of said building, but there were colonists constructing it still. So I just attached to them instead, and it kind of got a little bit infuriating. On some general aesthetic opinions, if you put a building or a forager for berries in trees, which is where they normally be, it's so easy to lose where they are. Like, I had to put a berry forager a bit further away, nearer a berry deposit, and then when I looked around I was like, wait, where have I put this? And I had to zoom right in and search through the trees to try and find it, since there isn't any like highlight through the trees of where you put something. They just get lost in the greenery. So maybe a little highlight around the edge of some of your buildings when you're zoomed right the way out. These were just the main things, but overall, you have to accept that there's a lot of good here. This isn't to try and find a polished game. This is to try and look at the basics and really to see a proof of concept to us, the player, that this is a game that is coming, and it is just as promising as we've seen from the trailers. There are so many incredible details, like your stock and resources can get damaged by cold weather if they're not covered up, or when you build a house, you can click on it, upgrade it so you can store more people can live there, or the villagers can have their own little garden plot in their backyard. As I played more, the king then started to want taxes, so I had to start looking into trading. There's also full tech trees that are being teased at the moment, but as far as I'm aware, haven't been implemented at all, so you can't really do anything with them. But it shows the progression that we're going to get to. It shows the future of this title. Overall, it's an incredibly positive experience, and whilst I cannot wait for the diplomacy and the RTS battle side of Manlords, the city building portion, or at least the small part of it that we've been shown so far, is beyond any other game that has tried to do a similar thing in the last 5 years. So with these other aspects of diplomacy, regions, trading, going to battle, building up armies, it can only blow the competition out of the water even more. But by the time you're seeing this, the demo for Manlord should be available. I have no affiliation with them whatsoever, other than them sending out a key for me so I could test it a little bit early. So be quick, because you've only got a few days, and let me know your true opinions on Manlords.
Hello everybody, Darren here, and welcome to a brand new mini-series in Manor Lords. Now, Manor Lords is a survival city builder with RTS elements that's available to play in demo form during the Steam Next Fest promotional period. For this demo, just the city building portion of the game is available, and it's all very much work in progress. Now, as always with Steam Next Fest games, you can wishlist it to help out the developers, and I'll provide links in the description so you can find all the relevant information you need to see how to give feedback, report bugs, and get more involved with the development of the game and just track its progress. Now, the demo doesn't have any saving, so it's just one continuous run. So because of that, I plan to have daily videos released for this as a mini-series, as I've had to just record them all in bulk. Now, if you want to get them even quicker than being daily, they're also going to be available to all my channel members instantly until they eventually release then, for everyone each day. I'm doing this because I just don't want to flood 5 or 6 or more hour-long videos all out at once. As well as that, I've played just a little bit of the game already, courtesy of the publisher Hooded Horse, and the developer as well, Slavic Magic. So I'll be able to guide you through the initial steps, as there's not that much of a tutorial, and some of the stuff can get a bit confusing the first time round. So I've kind of done that legwork for you. Should be smooth sailing from here on out. If you like this video and the series and want to see more Manor Lords in the future, please do consider dropping a like, a subscription, and sharing the video with your buddies. Now, also super quick, I'm just getting over a minor cold, so apologies if I sound a little bit off. Let's begin. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Manor Lords. Here we have our band of 5 plucky adventurers who've decided that this spot is as good as any to build themselves a new life, one that can last for generations to come. And we've got a new message. Let's check it out. Establishing a foothold. There is a fire at the heart of every settlement, a bastion of safety, warmth, and light against the darkness of the world. On this cold spring morning, your men blow on their fingertips, their breath clouding in the air. But there is plenty of work to warm them. As the toil begins, you can almost imagine you hear the ring of anvils, the tolling of bells, the cries of the marketplace, possibilities. In the distance, fog lingers in the hollows of the land, and the world is quiet, watchful, waiting for you to choose which of those to make real. As we establish our foothold, we must build a granary, a logging camp, a forager hut, a storehouse, all within the first year. Should be plenty of time. Let's begin. Now, before I get into the UI of the game and explaining mechanics, I just want to get started, get building, but just very quickly, let's take in the scenery briefly. Beautiful looking game, possibly one of the best looking city builders ever, especially this type of city builder, this kind of job-based survival city builder with these RTS elements. And we'll have plenty of moments to zoom in as we watch the construction of different things as well. Alright, so to get started, let's survey the land and see what's kind of immediately around us. So we have wild animals, we've got some berries in the forests over there. We have an iron deposit, looks like we're on the sort of an edge of a cliff as it goes down from this depression into the lower flatlands where we've got a river and things like that. As we zoom out further, we can see that this is a region in and of itself. And if we pull back even further, we're in Reichenfurt. The region view shows you which regions are under whose control. You can claim other regions when you gain enough influence. Claims can be refuted, or if a war is declared, blocked by the presence of an enemy army. Conquest, unfortunately, is locked in the demo, so we're not going to see any war aspects, but we might be able to expand to another region. Maybe. We'll see if we get the time to do it. Okay, so got it. So yeah, before I go through the UI and stuff like that, let's just get building, get started. So one of the first things we need, the basis of our economy, is just going to be the logging camp. We need so much wood for all of the things that we want to build. And we're going to really have to build the town kind of up in this area, I think, because this is a pretty steep incline. Might be kind of hard to see, but it's going to be difficult to build houses on such an incline. So it's a bit of a rough region, but we'll make do. So let's start with a logging camp right here. I'll just turn it to look a little bit nicer right about there. Boom. So they're going to get started with work on that. Unassigned peasants automatically work on construction. They're going to be going over to the ox. The ox is going to go to take up the timber, bring it right over, and then they're going to kind of work with one log and break it down and build a house from it. Got it. We've got plenty of those. So we've got 6 currently in just the open storage. Then we've got open storage for the, I guess, little homeless tents. That's going to be dismantled when we build some houses. We then Be bread and some firewood on the ground. Yep, bread, firewood, and 1 tool. Talk about tools a bit later. And then our hitching post for the ox, who goes back and forth, and we can see him just dragging that log over. Getting it in position to get cracking. Alright, so with the logging camp starting, we can have a look at the job system and stuff. So just really quickly, we have a total population of 5. So we have 5 peasant families currently unassigned. And of those families, there's 1 in each family. So this trips a few people up, the kind of population system. But basically, a family can have, I think, between 4 and 5 people or something like that in it. Sorry, 1 to 5 people. And then kids and things like that as well. The idea would be that you're assigning a family to a profession. And then over the generations, you know, they're the smiths, you know, they're the blacksmiths, and they're always the smiths. Now, obviously, you can unassign them and get them to do other things. That's always fine. But it's sort of a way of saying, like, when people die off of old age, their kids will take the role and that kind of thing. You don't really have to really think about it too much. All that's really important is to know how many unassigned families you have and how many assigned ones you have. That's free, you know, people not doing anything, and that's people working a job. Right now, everyone's unassigned as they're just kind of building freely. And a really nice quality of life feature in this game is that, and that kind of popped up a second ago, is that you can actually say, I want 3 this guy's name, sorry, that just completely took me, can't really read that one out. Don't know if you saw it there. I'll get demonetized if I read it out. It's just totally random to see that like appear on my screen. I don't even know what I was saying. Oh yeah, the quality of life feature that's really good is the fact that, I'll just speed up time just a little bit here, ×2. Is that I could say, assign 3 families to be, you know, lumberjacks. And then you can toggle this little button that says, if anyone's not doing anything, just put more people on this building. So you can kind of like, make sure that idle workers or idle families are doing other things as well. Basically, we've got all hands on deck to get this one built first. So let's just slow time down. They're just about to get it done. We'll start queuing up the next thing. So we want a granary, a storehouse. So storehouse, that's going to be storing a lot of the materials, including things like logs and stuff. Generic goods and logs to shield from weather damage. So we'll put that somewhere nearby. Maybe just like here. We'll try to build things a little tilted to make things look a little bit more organic. Actually, you know what? I would do that. We'll do it in here. It's a little crevice in here as well. Perfect. Get to work. Alright, so that'll be the next one. You can actually see that the ox is going to be traveling over to the storehouse. So someone has to go guide the ox. Thomas is going to be the one to do it. The ox's name is Fritz. So we're going to bring Fritz over, and he's going to take the log over. Once the log's in position, then everyone else can get building on it. And we'll assign some people to start getting logs. We currently have 4 timber. We've got 20 firewood. You need a different building to actually get firewood. And then we've got 19 bread. So someone's after having a loaf already, because I saw 20 earlier. The other thing that's important then would be approval. So approval is going to help your population grow, but until we get this first task done, we're not really going to be focusing on that. So we're going to keep time sped up. Keep it on at least ×2. We have our logging camp now. So we'll assign a worker. Let's assign 3, and we'll set the work area. Now if you hold control and scroll, you can actually increase or decrease the size of the work area. So I'm going to work a little bit more to the left, so we don't kind of take out too many of those berry bushes. Alright, cool. Now we can see that these 3 families, aka just really at the moment 3 people, are going to be working on felling trees, then hopefully just bringing it back to the, to the stockpile there, the storehouse, and that should make for easy access in future. So the next one then, forager hut. So perfect, we can have this all sort of in the same area because the berries are right over there. And there's further berries out, still in my region over there as well. So let's get the gathering section. We'll go to forager hut. Can be relocated as well, which is good. And yeah, I don't know, maybe like somewhere here. It's almost in between the two. They'll obviously have to walk quite a bit, but I don't think it's too bad. Let's just see how it goes. Should be fine. Should look nice next to the trees, I think. And it can be relocated. If we make any grave mistakes, we can fix it. So, you may notice on the right side of my screen, we have overlays that we can toggle. You can only see them when you're in the building construction mode. So we've got the underground water. Super important for where you decide to place your houses. You need to be near a well. So this is kind of letting you know where you can place your wells, effectively. We then have emmer fertility, flax, barley, rye, and the smell, of which I can do none of because my nose is completely blocked. Apologies for that as well if I sound a little nasally. But we got pretty flat terrain over here, although that's the iron deposit. There's animals over there, so that'll be another thing. We'll start getting a hunter's camp up soon enough too. So we're just waiting for people to build. I am putting a lot of the people straight on that logging camp, so that's taking up a lot of the workforce. It'll slow down building a bit, but I want to gather as much timber as we can, because we're going to need so much for all the houses that we need to build. We've got 5 homeless. We've got some exposed food. So we've got exposed food and exposed supplies and things like that because they haven't been moved to the storehouse yet, because we need to assign someone to the storehouse who will go over and grab them. Now, if no one's doing anything, they tend to move things to the correct places themselves. This definitely, obviously, like, speeds that up, makes it more efficient. It's like a logistician's job. It's like, my job is to make sure everything is where it should be. And the same goes for a granary. So that'll be the next thing we build. We've got the berry hut here. So we need a granary to store food, right? So we can just have a quick look. Storage. Granary stores up to 500 food. Helps supply the food stalls faster, which we'll get to a bit later. So we're going to be hunting. Food's going to be coming in over there. So we'll build it between where we have the berry building and the hunter cabin. Is probably going to be somewhere over there. So just somewhere like here we'll build it. And maybe there'll be farms out this way too. Now you may notice that when you put a building down on top of trees, it just deletes the trees. It's the same with roads. We'll put some roads down now in a moment. Obviously, most trees need to be felled with a logging camp, but if you're just building on top of them, then they will just be instantly removed. I don't know if that's just for the demo, or it hasn't been worked in yet. There's a lot of things like that in the game where it's like, I imagine, with their focus on kind of realism and slow pace of things, that kind of thing is something that's going to be done. For instance, you could destroy buildings instantly, and I know the developer has said they will be dismantled slowly over time. That's just not in yet. They do seem like it's still got quite a bit of development to go. But a pretty solid foundation. I've been really happy with what I played so far. And the game, like I said, just looks absolutely immaculate. We'll do a bit more zooming in once we get a few more buildings up and we can really soak things in. Alright, so that is under construction. It's just being built at the moment by our boy Thomas. And we're gathering plenty of wood. We've got 6 timber now. Awesome. Good stuff. We could rename this town, actually. I'm just going to rename it really quickly to Swords. It's a classic name I use on my city building cities and on my channel. Now, there's development, policy, production, all these different things here. Apparently, we've seen footage of this on the developer's Twitter. Slavic Magic, aka Manor Lords, is on Twitter. And he's posted that they've been reworking this, and there's going to be like tech trees and stuff. So there is lots to the game that's just not in this particular demo just yet that have been kind of worked on. But I think he's just kind of decided, I'm only going to allow access to things that are working well, which is probably a good idea, to be honest. Leave people wanting more, I suppose. Hopefully people don't come away thinking it's overly simplistic or something, because there's clearly all these tabs and things that you could do, all these different things. You just can't quite access it yet. Alright, so the foraging hut is almost done. It's got a little bit of moss already on the thatch. You think Thomas would get busy clearing that off, but it kind of gives to the aesthetic. I think he loves it. Let's go with a road now. Let's get some roads placed down. Some workers can use hand carts to transport goods more effectively or efficiently. Up to 10 items at once. Can you believe it? To enable hand cart transportation, road points from both buildings have to be connected by the road network. Alright, no big deal. So a lot of this stuff is going to be disappeared once we actually get several buildings up and running. The homeless tents will go away when we build houses, that kind of thing. So we'll just bring this down this way, connect these up that way. Try to keep the curve relatively smooth. Now, what you can do is you can hold control and scroll to kind of adjust the curve. It creates more points on the curve if you want to make it smoother or not. So we'll leave it like right around there. And there we go, we got our first little road. Because it was just raining, we got little puddles on it already. Again, quite a damn good looker of a game. Can't really get over that, to be honest. It just looks so good. Alright, that log is in position. So that's the storehouse, so we can just see that they're just moving logs literally from the logging camp right over to here. So that's effectively taking up that guy's job. He's just transporting stuff. He's guiding the ox, even though he's not assigned to the ox or anything. That was one thing that tripped me up early on. It's like, that's his priority, really. I suppose if you completely manually assign them to do different things, they would, but he's going to do that. So we'll go on foraging. We'll set a work area out towards those berries. 136 berries. Just do that. Next one's going to go up is the granary, so we can attach the road to where the granary is going to be as well. Nice, quite a nice curved road actually out this way. It's pretty cool. There's a little bend in it there, but that's alright. Nice. I'm loving it. It looks good. Super organic. People who know me from my other city building games, they know I like to try and make things look realistic. This game makes that a lot easier just right off the bat. We've got one log sitting here. I'm waiting for that to be removed so we can just get rid of this and we can build here. The hitching post can actually just be moved. I'm just going to move it, tuck it in somewhere here. That's just for the ox. I hope they add some decorations and ornaments and stuff in the future as well, like signposts, that kind of thing. Alright, it must be said this early on that the game is pretty slow paced. I'll be trying to speed it up like I am now where I can, but it's actually really slow paced. It's going to take till like year 2 or 3 before we get like most of the buildings in the demo I think up and running, and I didn't build everything anyway. Like I said, I'm not sure if you can go to other regions, but I'll try to if I can. Alright, so let's assess the situation. Our approval is 42%, that helps with population growth. A lot of people are homeless, but we don't need to do that. We still need to build the granary, so we're just waiting on that to be done. That's going to help with finishing off establishing a foothold. We're in April, so if we look through our seasons, spring, which is March to May, frequent raining, berry deposits regrow, plowing for quick summer harvest is possible. Summer, June to August, crop harvests start in the late summer. Autumn, September to November, end of harvests, plowing and sowing crops. Recommended for maximum yield next summer, berries start disappearing. And then winter, December to February. Berry deposits vanish. Firewood is required for survival. Sheep shearing is forbidden. And there is a chance, excuse me again, of getting ill. Tell me about it. I don't think I'd gotten ill. I said it in one of my other videos in about 4 years. And then this year I've gotten sick like 3 or 4 times in the space of 6 months. So it's been great. But at least this last one hasn't been too bad. I actually feel totally fine. I just have an annoying blocked nose. Alright, anyway, so how many logs do we have now? 18! So we're looking good. So let's reduce this down a bit. Let's chill. Let's help them get a bit more building going on. And then once the granary is done, we can kind of queue up doing other things. Now, I guess we know that we're going to be building out here eventually, so let's get started. Gathering. Let's get a hunting camp. I'll put it somewhere like out here. I guess we'll tilt it this way. Push it a bit further. Right about there, and we can just tell them to go in. Now, it does say, I've never really dabbled with this, but it says, overlaps wild animal habitat. May cause migration. So, I guess you don't want to be building in there. But just on the edge of it, I think that should be a good enough distance where they're not going to be alarmed by what's happening. So, we'll start there. Make drop a point there. Put the other point here. Hold control. It's not going to do much for our curve, I don't think. Maybe a bit there. Okay, there we go. Alright, nice. I think it's looking pretty good. We're still on ×2 speed. We're gathering tons of timber. We're up to May now. Would be kind of nice if I could see, like, the day or something. I don't know if that's on my screen somewhere that I'm just missing it. I frequently miss things. We do see the days ticking down here in terms of the tasks that we have to do. And ×2 speed is actually ×4. And ×3 speed is ×16. So you can go much, much quicker if you want. So how's the granary progress? So he's out there building it, Thomas, doing his thing. Now, an awesome feature, which will make use of quite a bit in this game, is that you can actually just walk around. Now, I'm looking very dapper indeed, and I'm not wearing my sigil colors. It's very work in progress, this feature, apparently, but we could just go for a little walk and check things out. Pretty cool. Takes that Anno 1800, like, get down on the ground first person thing to a whole nother level. Kind of would like to be in first person if I could. Don't think I needed to see the guy. But, pretty cool that you can do that, I think. It's still like an amazing thing to think of doing. You can kind of run as well. The cloth physics as well. Holy crap. Looks good. So as we build up our town, we'll look around a bit more at it. Obviously, we'll take a walk through the streets and stuff. I just want to show that off really quickly as well. So we can see things. It is pouring it down right now. So let's just zoom out of that. Speed time back up. ×16, please. And let's get moving. Very Age of Empires. How they're hopping around and building all this up bit by bit. Except it looks way better. Age of Empires 4, that is. Where they go kind of like into that hollow mode. Looks so cool the way you see them putting down individual bits. Now, something I thought was a bit strange is like the situation with stone. Like, we don't need stone. We can't even get it yet. There are stone deposits in the game. But a lot of the buildings at Tier 1 is all just wood. So, a little thing that miffs me a tiny bit. It's just that, it seems like you could have had us gathering stone at the beginning here as well. But maybe it's just not done yet, and they'll change those types of things. So, quest completed. Easy. Establishing a foothold. Done. Let's check our new message. The humble beginnings. Your supplies are dry and secure, and the first stage of work is done. The stories your people tell around the fire are of the many dangers in the world, from beasts to blights. Strange tales about foxes who go on pilgrimage, or small creatures who spin gold from sunset to sunrise. They tell these stories to put common names to their fears. Soon, they'll teach these stories to their own children. It's time to bring wives and children to the settlement, now that they can take shelter in proper homes. For your lands to prosper and grow, you'll need not only workers, but families. Construct a well, and construct a burgage plot. Another year to do this. So, we can build a well and start laying out our homes. Now, I'm not really too sure where we're going to go here, but I imagine this will just be a big residential area. But we should just check before we overlap any really important fertilities. Barley needs to be worse in there. Let's start with emmer, okay? Emmer, flax, barley, rye. I imagine most of the farms I'd like to have on this side because it's of the road, just because it's where the incline starts to get a bit sharp, and I don't think that really affects the farms too much. I mean, in real life it would, I suppose, with fall off from groundwater, but here it's not going to be too much of a problem, I don't think. I don't think it's even really a problem in real life. I think it's not a bad idea building on a hill, it's just awkward. Anyways, so we have our river vein going through here, so yeah, I guess we'll put a well maybe somewhere in the center, and then build some houses off of here. So let's get started with it. So we go to village life, we have the burgage plot. Some buildings have flexible borders. Place 4 points to designate an area. The cursor will snap to the roads and other plots to try and create an organic shape. You can leave more space for future extensions. So the extension upgrades are actually interesting. Basically means that some people might have their own vegetable patch or their own little things placed at the back of their houses. So if you want to build bigger plots, it doesn't cost anything extra, but it means that you can use them later on down the line if you have tools to get other things built, kind of get some production out of the plots themselves. So, let's just start with a big old fat plot, like here. What about that? Is that too big? I mean, it's super uniform, so I don't think we need to do that. Let's try to make things look a bit more natural. Just a little bit. Yeah, I don't mind starting out here. I think it's perfectly fine. Well, one other thing I'd like to think about, actually, is where's the church going to go? Church in the center of the town, maybe? Yeah, tavern nearby and a market nearby. I like to think those three things would be together. Okay. Alright, okay. Considering that, then, the housing situation could be slightly different. Now, you could do one plot at a time, which I actually like to do to create, like, not just complete uniform houses all the time. So I'll just get rid of this. Let's go a bit further. I'd like it to have the expansion slot, if it could. We'll just rotate them this way. So that's one there. Pretty big on its own, but that's fine. Just get that first plot started. I'm trying to build them, like, different or slightly, weird on purpose. So you can have two in there, really, but let's just see. Let's go two like that, maybe. That shakes things up a bit. Yeah, and then the road can come in. Okay, that's kind of cool. And then maybe this can come out here somewhat. And we'll snap it down to here. Join it up. That's an awful waste. So yeah, three like this I think would be good. So this guy gets a nice big plot. Maybe that's our house. And then we've got another 5 out this way. We only needed to build 5, but we definitely want to be building more than that. Just get as many down as possible. So we'll start with 6. And then we'll lay out the roads just after they get placed. Some of those trees might stay there as well, actually, which will look pretty good. So what we should see now, what we'll do is, because we have so much wood, we'll just take these guys off timber. You can stay on the foraging, I guess. The granary doesn't need anyone in it. And this doesn't have anyone in it either. So we've got 4 unassigned families. They're all just going to come out and help build now. We want to build as quick as possible. And in this demo, at least, when you build a house, it basically gets moved into instantly. As long as approval is at 50%. And that approval will go up as soon as we remove the homelessness, which is what this will obviously do. So let's just speed up time again a little bit. The ox, once he puts that log in position, effectively the people will just come out and start building quite quickly, and we should get people moving in nice and fast. So while they're doing that, let's look at where our well position is going to go. So we have houses, so we're going to have a kind of a road. Let's do the road first, and then we can get the well down. You can curve the road right around the plots of the houses themselves, which I'm happy to do. Yep. There we go. Roads down instantly. This will start to clean up and look a bit nicer soon. So then a well. The well could go right there. It can't really go on the side. Can we rotate it? Actually can't. Can't put it in around the back of the houses. Kind of wish you could do that, but that's okay. I understand why. It only needs to have road access, by the way. I'm not sure the full range of it. It seems like people will go pretty far to get their water. Might put it out... I guess this is kind of town center. This will be roughly where the market is. So let's just slam it down there. Alright, the first house is going up. They got their little border. Their little fence. The other logs are being delivered for the next ones to be built, so that's perfect. Yeah, looking good. See, that so much of this game is about the details. I think it's good just to soak it in, even though time is obviously sped up, but it's nice to see the house kind of coming together. It is the kind of thing where I do wish you had to like gather some grass, get some stone, some clay, and that's how you build these houses. Just gathering wood and seeing a house like this getting put up, it's like, oh, it feels like we could be doing more. But hopefully it's just while the game's in its demo phase. It seems like the foundation is in place for the developer now to be able to add things such as, like things like clay and iron and stuff is in the game, stone and things like that. But it's like, oh, maybe if you started with 7 or 8 people, or just even give me some of those goods early on, just to give that little helping hand at the beginning, like it does with the bread and the wood. Just give me a little bit of that, get me my first houses down, then we can start kind of building out that way. I'd like that anyway, but it's not a huge thing, but it's just something I'd like. Alright, so we can see who's homeless by hovering over this. Good UI in the game as well, I think. Speaking of, up here, this is the number, this is a very important metric. Number of months before supplies run out. So we have food for 5 months and fuel for 17. So fuel is going to be obviously like firewood burned in the homes. We've just got 1 home now, so we weren't even using any of it until just now. Once all these other homes come up, that number will probably come down quite a bit. But then we can start gathering some of our own firewood. So let's get a firewood building up and running. So it's a woodcutter lodge. So similar to a logging camp. They actually do chop down trees for it. It's not like they just refine the logs that have already been chopped, like most other games do. But this one actually says no, you have a separate building of people cutting down trees just for firewood. Excuse me. So I'll build that. We can see that some of this terrain's already been chopped away. We'll start doing it out this way maybe. Kind of out here, because I want to clear some of this area for farmland in future anyway. So we'll start chopping. Get chopping. Alright, let's just speed up time just a little bit faster as well. So we've got 2 out of the 5 plots done, and the well still needs to be built. And that'll start giving them access. So we can actually have a look while we're waiting for these other ones to be built. The Burgage plot. So residential. Upgrade to level 2. Construct an extension. So this one is big enough to have an extension. Some of these other ones weren't. Yeah, I can't quite remember now actually. I think 2 of them weren't, but 3 these 3 were? I can't quite remember. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Requirements. So these are just the labels. So a black requirement means requirement not met. The little yellow dot means it has been met. The green diamond means it's needed for a residential upgrade, and the red one requires it for a next level upgrade, but if you don't have it, it means that they'll actually be unhappy. It'll be bad approval. So our approval is falling dramatically right now because nobody's gotten their fuel or water just yet, so this house doesn't have anything yet, so approval is just falling, but it'll be okay. Everyone will get their stuff pretty soon. Once that well gets built, that'll be fine, and the firewood needs to be moved from the storehouse, or just the pile that was over here. Yeah, 20 over there, so that'll just get moved soon enough when we get stopping building, or if we just assign someone here, it will get moved right now. So we'll assign someone there, let them do their thing. Settlement level is increased. We've just reached small village status. So we have 5 out of 10 houses. So getting 10 will give us our next thing, and getting a church will allow us to become a medium village, which is needed for certain other buildings and stuff. So here we are, normal speed again. We're currently in July, so we've moved a few months already. 1 more house to go. So we've gotten the 5 built that we said we'd do, and then we just have the well, which needs to be built next. We're still gathering berries, and it's been stored in the pantry. So if we assign someone to the granary, they'll move some of the food in there. Granary's pretty far, I guess, from the town, but from the houses, but whatever. That's why you have a market. We'll put a market somewhere here. They'll grab this stuff from the granary, and distribute it to the houses. I think they actually get people go to the market to get their stuff rather than the market distributing it. I know playing Farthest Frontier recently, it was the other way around. The market guy actually goes around the grocer and delivers stuff. You actually see them doing it. Look at this guy's hat. Hell yeah. Rocking the big beanie before it was in style. Gotta say, like, the models look great. Let's have a real zoom in on this guy. This is Thomas, I think it said. Was it? Actually, I think when you're on follow, you can't actually see their name. Nice. Alright, cool. Just that final house being built. We've 2 families not doing anything right now. We're not gathering any more wood. We've got 15 timber already. In the bank, you could switch this to show surplus goods or total stored. The reason you don't want to show total stored is because some of it's already assigned to go somewhere, so it's not necessarily the most helpful thing seeing that, but it's nice that you can flip between it. Alright, food for 7 months now. So the granary, has it taken in anything yet? Not yet. So where's this person? Let's click the granary, click people, gathering. There he is. Let's see if he drops something off. I don't know if he's got something on him right now. Oh, he's going to take the handcart. Hell yeah. Let's go. It's a bit of a wonky looking wheel, but you'll be fine. Watch those branches, man. What's his name? I can't say that name. We'll just call him C. Or just Kun. Alright, off he goes to gather his stuff. So let's just speed. I'll keep it on ×4. It's a pretty good middle ground speed. And that well's still not done. The well's usually quite quick to be built. They're building it in order. Now I could increase or decrease the priority, but we'll do it what we set out to do. And then they'll become happier, and then more people will move into this new house. And these lads, these 5 adventurers, they're going to find wives, start having kids. It's going to be great. One thing that would be really super nice, again, with the game is like you click a person, you see something about them. I always like these games where you can rename people, which is nice, but having just even one trait, you know, some little history about them, family history maybe, that kind of stuff adds to the immersion, the role play. These are all very small supplemental things that I'm sure can be added quite easily, relatively speaking, later on. You can totally see from the developer standpoint, they're just getting the fundamentals, pathfinding, how building works, roads, the graphics, getting things running well, optimization. That's, you know, these things take an inordinate amount of time, so they've done the heavy lifting for sure. Gameplay stuff can be added on top quite nicely and easily, at least in my experience, my brief experience with game development. Alright, so with approval still really low, let's see how the granary is doing for storing food. 36 berries are stored up in the granary now. In the storehouse we have logs and some generic stuff. Firewood, cool. So, what have you got? You haven't still got anything yet. Still waiting on that well. It's just about to be done now. It's usually quite quick. There we go. Really beautiful music in the game also, which is quite nice. Alright, I'm just going to speed it up even further then, if we're just waiting, which we basically are. Alright, quest completed. The Humble Beginnings is done. Next up, a new message. Comforts and conveniences. As you walk the perimeter, surveying your village with pride, a woman walks past you. She's bent nearly double under a sack. You ask how long she's been walking, and she tells you it takes her half a day now to get all the food she needs for her family from the hunters and farmers that surround the village. If only there was a marketplace where your people could acquire food, clothing, and firewood. They would be happier and have more time for other work. So, level our houses up to level 2, 3 of them at least, and build a food stall, a firewood stall, and a clothing stall. This is where the game kind of opens up, gets a bit more interesting. So, we can